I was younger, I had a single mom. She made a lot of money, a whopping $4,000 a year. Okay, so things were not great at Casa Easton. Okay, not a lot of food, not a lot of toys, not a lot of clothes. I probably should have brought it today. I still have this artifact because when you're a broke kid, you can remember the toys you had. This one was extra special, though. It was a Matchbox 1979 Kelly Green Porsche Turbo. I was playing with that in the mud. You would think with a mom that made only $4,000, she never worked, but poor people will understand this. The amount of time that you spend at work working doesn't necessarily correlate to money. So I was unsupervised and home alone a lot, playing in the mud with the Porsche, and I heard this noise. The year was like 1981. I know I'm old. I don't look old, but I am. And I looked up, and it was the actual Porsche that I was playing with, 79 Kelly Green Turbo. And I did what any broke kid would do with a mom that made $4,000 in one toy that just drove by my house. I chased after it. Right?
Sure.
Yeah. So I kind of knew where the car was going because when you're poor, you keep inventory of who in the neighborhood has a little bit of money. There's a guy by the name of John Carroll in our neighborhood. He was my definition of a rich person at that time because he was a lawyer. My mom was from Boston, so she's like, Matthew, if you want to make a lot of money, you got to be a doctor or a lawyer, but you're not too smart. You'll end up at the gas station. Right? My mom, not a lot of encouragement in my childhood either. But I ran after it. Sure enough, the car was parked in front of John Carroll's house, but it was not Mr. Carroll's Porsche.
Sure.
I waited for the person to come out. It was a gentleman that sold computers for a company called Texas Instruments. And in 1981, computers were a new thing. I don't even think Microsoft was around at that point. So I waited. The guy came out. I'm like, Mister, is this your car? I thought maybe drug dealer or something, right? And he was wearing a suit, kind of like this. And he was like, yeah, it is. Do you want to see it? And he let me sit in it. And I was like, what do you do? And he was like, I'm in sales. And right there I was sold. And I was like, what do you sell? Kind of hoping he'd be like, drugs,
Sure.
But it wasn't. He was like, I work for a company called Texas Instruments, kid, and I sell computers. And I said, as you would probably say at 8 years old, looking at a Kelly Green 79 Turbo, I was like, that must be an awesome computer. And the guy used adult language with me, which maybe made the conversation stick. He said, can I use the words he used on the show?
Go ahead.
He said, frankly, son, it's a real piece of shit. And I felt kind of bad because I knew Mr. Carroll lived in that house, and I assumed Mr. Carroll just bought a computer. And he said, I just sold one to Mr. Carroll. And I said, oh, okay. And he could probably see the deflation in my voice a little bit. And he was like, do you know Mr. Carroll? And I said, yeah, the attorney. And he goes, but do you know Mr. Carroll? And I could tell by the bob in his head that he knew Mr. Carroll the way I knew Mr. Carroll, the way all the kids in the neighborhood knew Mr. Carroll. Mr. Carroll was afflicted with Parkinson's, pretty severe. Sure. He had the twitches and the tremors and all of that. And he said, listen, son, this computer is a real piece of shit, but it does one thing and one thing really well. We call it calendar entries. Do you know Mr. Carroll has Parkinson's? And I said, yeah, I know. And he said, his office is in Westminster, Colorado. It's 30 minutes away from here. Mr. Carroll has to take medication every day at 3 p.m. He has a choice. He can cut out work early at 2:30, drive home, take his medication because he cannot drive a car after he takes his medication, but he's working a half day. He said, I just installed a TI 99-4 computer in Mr. Carroll's house. He's going to work till 2:30 visiting clients. He's going to write down all of his notes on a sheet. He's going to come home and be able to enter those into his TI 99-4 and give that to his accountant for billing. We're changing Mr. Carroll's life. And at that point, I was like, this is what I want to do with my life. And then I said, but I don't read too well, can't spell. And the guy was cool. If this was even a person, it might have been the force, God, Allah, whatever you believe in. It might have been an aberration from the universe because I was down on myself, and he gave me a little pep talk. He's like, never be down on yourself. He's like, and I got you covered on the spelling. And he opened the front of the Porsche. And in 1981, the coolest toy on the market was manufactured by a company called Texas Instruments, and it was called a Speak and Spell. It was $76, which is like $300 in today's money. And he handed me one. And I was like, my older brother's he's gonna beat me up and take it. And the guy was like,
jealous.
Right. The guy was like, come on back, kid. And he's like, you need to work, you need to get good grades, you need to listen to your mom. Here's another. So he gave me 2 speaking spells and was like, see you later, bye. And at that point, I knew what I wanted to do with my life. I'm going to sell. I'm going to be this guy. I'm going to figure out the Mr. Carroll. So
At a young age, you figured out. You saw
eight
his
years
results,
old. Yeah.
And you were just sold on the results.
Yeah. And I had all the time in the world. I had very little supervision. And I was like, this is what I'm going to do. So